Okay, finally got my pelvis here, and this is not, obviously not to scale, and it didn't come with a baby doll. So the baby doll that I got is, it's not bendable. I borrowed this from a friend, so this is not gonna work. And Chris says the shoulders don't fit, so I get to demonstrate shoulder dystocia. Anyways, I wanted to talk quickly about different presentations of the babies. So we have breech. This is when I was talking about breech. Daniel, did you know what I meant?
No, I wasn't quite sure, no.
Okay.
I assumed it was the other way. So.
Yeah, so breech would be when they're butt down or foot down, and it's not good. The best, what we need is we need the baby to be head down. There's actually 8 variations of how the baby can be when they're head down. So first of all, a few terms we need to refer to is, see the top of the head right here? This is pretty big, right? But right here, if I tuck my neck, this is a smaller area here. This is the occiput, right? In medical terminology, this makes sense, right? Because this is the occiput. So when labor gets started, and we first begin that positive feedback mechanism, baby she's at a high station as she descends into the pelvis. When her head is in line with the ischial spines, that's station 0. The baby is now engaged. So when we talk about pre-labor and baby being engaged, I just wanted to show you this last week. It means that her head is now down in the pelvis like that. So the occiput, we're going to refer to different terms using the occiput. So this would be occiput anterior, meaning the back of her head is at the front or the anterior of the mother's pelvis. And this would be occiput posterior. So when we refer to posterior babies, we mean sunny side up. They came out, there's the face. Okay, so what we want as we do labor is we want the largest part of the baby's head in the largest part of the pelvis. So this is the pelvic inlet and this is the pelvic outlet. And you notice that in the pelvic inlet, the widest space is horizontal and the smallest space is like anterior, posterior, like front and back. So we want the baby to be like this. We don't really want them posterior. I think LOA and ROA are probably the most common presentations, meaning right facing or left facing, occiput, anterior. Janine gets me this medical terminology here. But basically, we don't want the baby posterior. We certainly don't want the breech. And as the baby descends into the pelvis, he or she is going to have to rotate to be able to come out the pelvic outlet. Now, why is this important? Why do you think movement is so important when we're talking about the baby's position and progress? Movement of the mother.
Oh.
So it's very important. I've mentioned before that like one of the most important things that you're going to do is move in labor. And that's because the baby is maneuvering itself down into the pelvis, and we want to give him room to maneuver around. So first thing I want you guys to do is stand up and put your hands on your own pelvis, and I want you to feel how your pelvis feels when you move in different positions. Squat. Okay, now when you squat, do you feel that some of your bones kind of open? Thankfully, your pelvis is a lot more movable than this one. And Janine's pelvis is a lot more movable than your pelvis because she has this hormone right now called relaxin, and relaxin actually relaxes all the muscles and ligaments, and it softens them for labor so that when she's in labor, her pelvis is really able to move and open up. So as the baby descends down, the sacrum and the coccyx are actually able to move quite a bit, allowing quite a bit more space for that head to come out. So I know it feels funny, But move around in some different ways. Feel your pelvis move. Do you feel that it is movable? Like, as weird as it is?
Yeah, a little bit.
It's not flexible.
Probably, I'm not very flexible. Maybe more squats.
Good thing you're not the one having the baby.
I know. I would be the one tensed up.
So as you move in different ways, it's gonna move and give you space in different ways, and it's gonna help progress. So I often say that one of the best things you can do for comfort in labor is movement. In early labor, walking. In active labor, walking, but when you get to the point that you feel like you can't walk anymore, there's other ways that you can move or use upright positions. And also, you're getting the added benefit of gravity. And as we know from that positive feedback reflex, as the baby's head puts greater pressure on the cervix, the baby's head puts greater pressure on the cervix, it increases the strength of those contractions, through that positive feedback. So in positions where you're lying on your back, we're not using gravity.
Right.
And also the positive feedback is still there, but it's not going to be as strong as when you're in an upright position. So if you look in your positions handout that I gave you, we're going to just do some different positions together as practice. And I also want to give you a little encouragement that, again, you don't have to remember all this stuff. You have this to refer to in labor if you need. But one of the most beautiful things about labor is that I really feel like women, you find your intuition in it. And your body is going to tell you what to do and what feels natural. Some positions are going to feel much better than others. Get in those positions. Ideally, you want to be changing positions every half hour or so. But also, if you're doing great and you're making progress in one position and you're like, I can't move, that's okay too. The idea though is that we're going to use a variety of different positions to help. So upright positions, these use gravity to help your baby descend into the pelvis and to rotate, and in that way they help progress labor. So walking is great. It helps you feel good. Gets your mind off things. Now another one would be abdominal lifting. So this can alleviate back pain and groin pain. So you're standing against the wall, and you have this belly that is much bigger than you have right now, and you kind of press back against the wall, and as you do it, you sort of lift your abdomen and tilt your pelvis forward. You physically lift it. It's kind of like helping that baby engage a little bit more. It's a very gentle motion. Yeah, you can kind of pretend that you're doing it now, and you're like tilting that baby.
Well, I've got nothing really.
Let's just pretend that this is your belly here. This is going to be Janine, just kidding. And you just kind of like tilt up.
That's basically, yeah, I see. It's like pushing the baby more down.
Kind of helping them engage a little bit deeper. Now, another upright position. Let's say you really want to use gravity, but you're too tired to stand on your two legs. It's been a long day and you've been in labor. You can use upright positions of sitting. So, Janine, let's pretend. Sitting. Yeah. And it just says keep your knees lower than your hips to give the baby enough room to rotate. So let's say, yeah, or kind of open up your legs. Don't be ladylike. Just really make yourself comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sit like a man.
Yeah, all your modesty. I'm just telling you. This kind of goes out the window. Can you guys think of any other standing positions? I have one that's not on here, and that would be slow dancing. So
Really?
put your arms around his neck and kind of lean on him. Okay? Now, in labor, you're tired, and you just want to lean on him and rock with him. You-
Okay.
Okay.
You're he's your support, and also there's comfort. You know, there's security in that.
Yeah,
Play some
that's
music.
true. Yeah, we can find
Frank
Frank
Sinatra. Something.
There you go.
Huh.
Do you think you're gonna want music in labor, or are you one of those like quiet? I'm a quiet.
I like music. Yeah, I don't know what style I prefer at that time, but.
Whatever is super calming to you. So
Yeah.
Or workout music, maybe.
I don't
Probably
think
not.
you're gonna want that. Create a playlist though. That can be
a good idea.
Daniel, you're gonna be the one remembering.
Okay, playlist time.
Okay, so forward leaning positions are our next one, and these help the baby turn and align properly in the pelvis and can ease back pain. So forward leaning, let's try, okay, it gives some ideas here for sitting, standing, or hands and knees. And there's a ton of variations we could do with this. First of all, sitting, Janine, I want you to sit on this birth ball. I think this is a little higher. It's a little lower than a hospital bed would be, but I'm gonna show you. You're gonna sit on the birth ball. And let's say here's the hospital bed. And you're gonna lean forward on the birth ball on the hospital bed like this. And so you can labor here for a few contractions.
Okay.
And just make sure that, again, your knees are not
Lower
angled
than-
up,
lower
lower than
than.
your hips, yeah.
Okay.
Wait, why is that? Why do we want
It's more
to use-
gravity, right?
Yeah.
But you're
Uh,
just like, it's less effort, I guess, than walking. So,
Yeah,
like
so
if
this
you
is-
can't walk anymore, you can do
Right. Or you just want to rest your legs.
I don't follow with
Because you're gonna be tired. Like there's gonna come up. That doesn't look super comfortable.
No.
But also, okay, this is more of the height of a hospital bed. So why don't
Okay.
you try again and lean forward onto this?
I see. Okay. Like that.
Yeah, and you.
If this wasn't slippery. I get it though.
Yeah. Well, another one, you could put a pillow on your knees and you could lean over the birth ball. Now, another good thing that this does is it creates space in your uterus for the baby to move around and kind of maneuver a little bit so that it can engage in your pelvis and so that, you know, as you're laboring, it is using gravity. But in general, forward leaning is good. And you're going to probably have pain in your back. Some women have excruciating pain in their back, and for some women it's just a dull ache during contractions. But either way, relieving back pain is a big part of what we do when we talk about comfort, because it's tough on your whole body, but it hurts the back sometimes. So now try by getting on the floor here and leaning over the birth ball like this.
Okay.
And just let your belly hang.
Okay. Am I not doing it right?
There's not, okay, you just kind of
so
have
like less space.
to, maybe be a little bit less ladylike.
Okay.
Because imagine you have this big old belly.
Yeah.
It's gonna,
It's just like hanging there.
yeah, like that. And there's not really a right or wrong here. You've got to,
You probably feel it feels good.
it feels good, yeah. And it feels good even in late pregnancy to relieve that back pain.
Do you recommend like, cause I sit most of the day, like sitting on a ball for part of the day?
Yeah, and sitting on a ball is good. There was this thing my sister showed me. It's like, I don't know if you've seen it, you stand on it and it kind of rocks. And so she actually puts her work computer at eye level and stands up while she works.
Oh, cool.
And what it does is apparently it builds core strength because you're kind of having balance.
Oh, wow.
So-
So if I could do that with my job.
Interesting.
He has a standing desk at his office.
At the office, yeah.
Yeah. I also recommend right now, and we can go through this later, but some exercises and forward leaning positions to help you with the back pain. Are you having anything like that now?
Some back pain, but not terrible. Yeah.
Movement, walking is so good, and then exercise is also great for that. I think it's part of right now being stuck indoors
I
and
know.
having to sit in a chair all day. Like,
Yeah.
it will probably get harder as your belly gets bigger.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was using the birth ball, but there are other things we can do that are not using the birth ball.
Do hospitals even let you bring the ball in, or is that like you would see that at a birth center?
That's a great question.
Especially with COVID, I feel like I've even read online like they're limiting how much you can bring in the hospital, like your bag size. I don't know.
It's a great question. But remember that a lot of your labor is probably going to take place at home till you get to that 411. So you could use it here.
I'm gonna put that on my Christmas list.
Yeah, and I'll send you the thing about measurements because they come in different sizes. So
Okay.
for you to be really comfortable, you want to get the size that fits with your body height.
Okay, yeah.
But yes, you can use it at home. Ask your provider. Some hospitals have stuff like that.
Okay.
Some don't, and I really wish I knew here.
So okay, so you could be doing these things
At
at home
Mhm.
before you go. Okay.
Yeah. As soon as you
That
get
was
to the
early
stage,
labor stage.
So they're like-
right? So remember, we distract until you don't want to distract anymore. You're getting focused because you're
Uh-huh.
making progress. You don't know, maybe you don't know because you haven't gone to the hospital how many centimeters you are.
Mhm.
That's less important than knowing how you feel in your body. And when she begins to feel like she can't have a conversation through a contraction,
Mhm.
then she needs to start breathing with it.
Okay.
And then maybe distract in between. But when you start feeling like, whoa, this is hard work, and then you begin to start using your comfort measures. You'll kind of know.
And that was the 411 when you actually go to the
Mhm.
hospital.
411. So what does 411 mean?
I think it's
Oh.
every 4 minutes, a 1 minute contraction.
For how long?
For 1 minute.
For 1 hour.
No,
Like
For 1 hour. Yeah,
Over an
you're
hour.
right, you're right.
right?
That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
So 4 minutes apart, 1 minute long for 1 hour.
Okay.
Okay, so we want to do some more positions.
Yeah.
So other forward leaning positions, you can just get on your hands and knees. Dan, I'm making you do this too, so
All right.
you don't feel crazy.
I'm just watching.
So you can, you can labor just like this, or even without the birth ball, leaning on something, leaning on a chair, leaning on the bed. Yeah. So this obviously, this is going to get tiring.
Mhm.
This would be good, if you need to be in a forward position to make progress, then this would be great to do during the contraction, and then you can rest or sit in between.
Interesting.
So sitting, forward leaning, standing, asymmetrical positions. These are really good for creating space in your pelvis, and this is when your legs are at different heights. So I don't want to put my feet on your furniture, but let's pretend this is a chair. Let me do this, and I'm going to, okay, I'm not really putting my weight on it, but kind of shift back and forth and do it with different legs.
Oh, okay.
So,
Lunges.
yeah.
Well,
Elevated,
yeah.
elevated lunges.
Elevated lunges. Standing lunges. You can also do kneeling lunges. So kneeling lunge would be like this. And can you think about just like seeing our pelvis? Imagine it moving. Imagine it opening up. You're creating a lot of space.
Mhm.
So if you feel like maybe you're not making progress, somebody like a doula would be helpful to give you ideas in the moment of, oh, this could be something you could do to help your progress.
Mhm.
But on your own, just do what feels comfortable. Like it will feel, I really feel like there's this wonderful instinct that we have when we labor that helps you know like what's best, both what positions and also what coping strategies. It comes to you. It comes to you on the moment. And it's good to have these in your toolbox.
Yeah.
So sitting. Okay, so we did kneeling lunges, standing lunges, stair climbing. Go climb some stairs. That's always good too. Slowly. You'll get to a point in active labor you're not going to want to do that, but in early labor, it's great.
Huh.
And they have stairs at hospitals, so
That's true.
easy to do.
So do they regularly let you walk out in the hallways and not during COVID, but like normal circumstances, or you just have to stay in your room?
I don't know about these
At
hospitals,
hospitals.
but where I was, they certainly did. In fact, they would be
Uh-huh.
like, "Go get out of the bed, go walk the stairs,"
Okay.
and they encouraged women. But that was, I mean, it was a very different circumstance.
Mhm.
It's another great question.
When I was at Einstein, I didn't see anyone go out of their room.
In the hallways.
Really?
Yeah, but that was just Einstein, I don't know what other
Hmm.
hospitals.
Yeah, you might not hear, and especially with COVID, I would doubt.
Yeah.
I doubt it. So, you know, modify. We modify by using more of the lunge style,
Mhm.
you know, different heights.
Right.
Sideline position. So this is something Janine asked me about before the class of, you know, you said you have only seen lying on your back, like feet in the stirrups, kind of pushing.
Yeah.
And now knowing what you know about birth and the pelvis, do you think that that's a very good and effective position?
No.
Why not?
The gravity.
Yes. And
And you
also,
said that you're more likely to tear that way too.
and also because, I mean, think about this person lying on their back. Okay, if positioning allows them, their sacrum and their coccyx opens up, allowing a couple centimeters more space for that head. But if they're lying on your back, can you do that?
No. You might be compressing it actually.
Right. So what if you're really exhausted by the second stage of labor, but you don't feel like standing up to push? Then we modify. Or if you had an epidural and you can't get in some of like maybe the better positions to push, then we can modify. So one of the ways we modify is using side-lying pushing positions instead of on your back by tilting.
Okay.
So a couple of examples of sideline positions. So Janine, would you like to kneel on the couch? Sideline and sideline modify. Okay, this would just be lying on your side. You're gonna want to put a pillow under you. Now, this is also a good way to labor. Notice she's laying on her left side, better than the right side. And as you get, do you know why? Lift the left. No, it has to do with your has to do with your no, it's okay. I like not being on video. It has to do with your vein, like when you're laying on your back.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
You're not
Well, you're saying left is better.
left
The
is
other
better.
side.
Are you on you're
I'm on my right, yeah.
Oh, okay. Left is better, but you can kind of rotate between the two.
Yeah.
So this would be sideline. So in the pushing, you know, midwife might open up your legs. Dan might be there helping you, so you can actually relax this leg, and they're holding it for you as you're pushing on your side. That is one pushing position. Sideline modified would be like, okay, we're gonna use this pillow, and you can kind of tilt and kind of lean into it now, and we're creating space this way. Yeah.
That's what feels comfy.
You know, or even if you are leaning back like you are now, we're like making space this way. We're not fully on your back. So as much as we can avoid you being on your back, it's gonna help a little bit. Obviously these are not the best positions, but it is a way to modify things if, you know, you're too exhausted to squat or you really need to be laying down for whatever reason.
Well, it feels better modesty-wise too than just up like that all the time.
I'm just gonna say you
So
might not
it's-
care in the moment. Okay, so those are some sidelines, and they're very restful, both for labor and for the pushing stage. Yeah, okay. Now, other pushing positions. So, kind of get on you don't have to put your feet anywhere, but kind of sit up as if you're in the hospital bed in a typical labor position.
Like that.
Yeah, yeah, there you go. Okay, are you comfortable right now?
Yeah.
Alright, so actually flip yourself over the other way. So now, one of the ways that we would modify to use a little bit more gravity is instead of having you like completely flat on your back, is sit you up. So we would put these pillows like this, and you're sitting and your knees are apart, and the hot chocolate educator, so you don't have to worry too much about this. And you know, you would be pushing like that. Obviously, you know, in this position, you're still putting some pressure on the sacrum. So it's not quite as much allowing space, but it's restful and it's better than lying completely. And gravity, like you said, gravity is always good. It could be also, if you have a very long second stage of labor in the pushing, that you may need to use the sitting. But it might not be the only position, because like I said, with the sacrum not able to rotate, you might need to use a variety of positions. Like if you're using one and it's going very slow, usually a midwife will recommend you move to another position. So another position we use for pushing, so what do we have so far? We have sitting, side lying, typical position, and hands and knees. Babies get ankle hip first all the time, like that. And you know, legs are gonna be apart.
It's actually not that bad.
You got gravity going on,
Yeah.
and gives the pelvis plenty of space. Another one would be squatting. And I did this, like with Jonah, I was in the birth tub, which actually wasn't what I had planned on doing. Just once I got to transition, I was like, I'm not moving. So I gave birth and squatting like this.
Oh, okay.
And my legs got too tired, so I think it ended up being more like this, like in my knees. But that's what actually has a significant gravity advantage and really opens the pelvis, you know, like that. So.
And you gave birth at a wedding center? Is that right? Or was that
It was this.
Okay.
It's kind of like
Okay.
we're both good. I was in a hospital with Evie. I meant to be at the birth center, but then my water had broken.
Oh, you did say that.
So I ended up, but my midwife came to the hospital with me. So that's the good thing about finding a hospital that will accommodate midwives. Okay, and then we already talked about sideline. So, yeah, your upper leg need to be supported. So, do you have any questions?
Yeah. It's a lot of options. I guess
Yeah.
I would like try and practice a few at home and then just remember them.
Right. Kind of having the toolbox, and Daniel's gonna have his little cheat sheet.
Yeah.
He's gonna have this little book with him.
And this one.
Alright, Janine, try the next one. Switch position now.
But like I said, it will feel natural. Like, I think that's the great thing of not being in the bed with all the stuff hooked up to stuff, is that you're able to kind of maneuver your body to get in a position that feels most comfortable at the time.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So you were saying maybe like a couple contractions per position, or if it just feels good?
Yeah, stay there. I mean, you can push the whole time in one position if progress is happening and it's allowing the pelvis enough space.
Okay.
Yeah. But if in the pushing stage we're talking about, if baby's getting stuck in some way, you might not know, but your provider might be saying something, then that might be a case that they'll rotate you or try another. So midwives tend to be very big, I think, on the training of helping. Like they're a little bit less like, let's go to like a medical like suction vacuum forceps kind of delivery.
That's what my mom, I asked her just recently and she said I was forceps.
Yeah. And how was her experience with that?
I don't think she liked it.
Yeah, it's pretty invasive.
Yeah, it sounds awful.
Yeah. So forceps are like salad tongs.
Oh wow.
And they go up and
Doesn't it deform the head a little bit?
It can. And so does vacuum. So I think vacuum is a little bit more common than forceps now. And they like a little plunger. They like get on the baby's head and they like kind of
Whoa, really?
suck the baby out. It doesn't usually
Oh,
cause
yeah.
any major damage. It just can because the skull bones are not fused together yet. So yeah, they can have a little bit of swelling on their heads, a little bit of bruising, and it just can feel very invasive. So a better thing to go to before you get to that would be trying different positions and pushing. You know, if there was any problem. They could also do an episiotomy. Let's say it's because they feel like there's not enough space, then episiotomy would be what they do.
Okay.
Which honestly, the episiotomy is not, like, it's not that terrible. It's just a little cut.
Okay.
Does that scare you? The
It
cut?
does sound, yeah, bad, but you would know.
I didn't have any episiotomies, but I have seen them done.
Okay.
And I mean, I think usually the suturing afterwards part is probably more annoying than the getting it done. They'll numb you.
Yeah.
But I guess the point is, most of the time there's no problem in the second stage of labor, in the pushing. But sometimes there is. Sometimes there's just a problem with the baby's position, progress isn't happening, and that's when we really want to be ideally able to just help maneuver the baby in with positioning. But there's other things that they can use if that is not being effective. So,
Yeah, it's good to have those options
Yeah.
before, and I guess not everyone would know all the options, so
yeah.
they just do whatever the doctor says.
Okay, so you could tell the doctor like, hey, we want to try a different position because this one's not working out. So.
And they'll probably be doing fetal monitoring at that point. So, you know, it's, again, I'm fine, baby's fine, what's the hurry? Can we try this first?
Right.
But if he says, yeah, but the heartbeat's dropping, then that's a time, like, listen to your provider, you know. Most of the time it's more of like a time limit thing. So it really depends on how are you coping, how do you feel? Are you know, you still have the strength to push, like, you guys are gonna be able to make that decision in that moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're still able to do fetal monitoring during the lying down positions, I suppose. Okay.
In fact, it's much easier to do the fetal monitoring when they're lying down. So sometimes that's the reason. The standard way to labor, unfortunately, in the United States is on your back, laying down with the fetal, like being monitored sometimes. So you can have fetal monitoring sitting up, but sometimes it'll fall. It's easier for the provider when you're lying still, like on your left side.
Okay.
Yeah, they use these like stretchy straps that aren't really secure, so they always look to adjust it.
Maybe they should just make it like an elastic band or something.
Well,
just like
that's
slide
what it
down.
is, but it's not, I don't know, the ones they had weren't the best.
Yeah.
Should just work with Nike or something. You stay on your belly.
Right.
So yeah, again, when you're practicing all these positions, make sure you do it with a support person. Just kind of Daniel, as you get bigger, you know, making sure that you're being safe with you know, getting down into the squat, you can get back out. There to spot you.
Yeah, it would be nice to have a ball because getting on the floor of the hospital
Sounds
room
gross.
sounds a bit gross, but
Yeah.
they're probably cleaner.
Yeah, or you could bring, you know, that could be something you bring if they'll let you. Is like,
And then inflate it once I'm there.
Oh yeah, they'll never know.
oh my gosh, you probably could, or you can bring it like fresh out of the box or something.
Yeah.
Like this one has a foot pump. It's like
That's
very
okay.
easy to do. That's a smart idea.
As long as it's in our bag, they can't say no.
Yeah, that'll just
I haven't heard that one before, but that's a great way. We're always looking for ways to get around the rules.
Smuggle it in.
Also smuggle in those crackers.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you that.
Oh, you're not allowed to bring food to a hospital, or
I don't know. You can probably bring food because you're gonna need food, but
Yeah.
but
I'm not supposed to.
she's not supposed to
oh,
eat.
right, okay. I can. I'll just tell her it's for me. I'll stick a cracker in here and there.
Yeah.
Take these to the bathroom.
Put on your shirt. I'm not giving this advice. It's not for me. All right, so that is all about positioning, and positioning is one of the main tools that we use, but there's other things too. So you guys ready to try some more things?
Yeah.
Okay, so Penny Simkin, a famous midwife, she likes to call the 3 R's, and she says good coping support involves rhythm, relaxation, and ritual. Rhythm, relaxation, ritual. This comes from her book, I think it's The Birth Partner, which actually I'm going to recommend to you guys. It's an excellent book. It's kind of the companion's guide to labor. It's really like for Daniel and for doulas. It's like what's happening in each stage, and it gives this very nice summary, what she might be feeling and what you can do.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, it's very thorough, but then she also gives these nice little brief summaries of each chapter. So she says rhythm, relaxation, ritual. It's called The Birth Partner by Penny Simkin. I think it's I'll send you an Amazon link. So again, I really feel like one of the most important things of labor is just following your instincts. Now, part of relaxation, right, is we're creating an environment that is restful so that oxytocin can flow and those contractions can go. And the goal of labor, I mean, it's a mind game. It's relaxation. It's not fighting those contractions, but breathing through and relaxing through them. And then in between contractions, you want full body relaxation. I mean, you really want to let everything go. You want to be able to recognize places of muscle tension and breathe it out. And this is one of those things that's really good to prepare for ahead of time, because to develop some relaxation skills in your toolbox, it will help you use them effectively when it is a little bit more difficult to relax. So what are some things you guys can think about that would help you create a relaxing environment?
Dim lights, music, less distractions in the room.
Mm-hmm.
Comfortable clothes.
Yeah,
Comfortable,
for sure.
like, seating.
Comfortable clothes. Maybe bring a pillow or blanket from home that has like your smell, you know.
Yeah, those pillows are not the best. They're just so flat.
Right.
Yeah.
If they'll let you.
Yeah.
Hopefully they will with COVID. Bring a pillow. I'll put this in a thing that I'll give you closer to ahead of time of what to pack in a birth bag, but you really want chapstick.
Okay.
Do you know how annoying it is when your lips get dry?
Well, I have eczema, so they're always dry.
Yeah, you know,
Oh,
that's
yes. So lotion.
Yeah.
Bring lotion and chapstick with you. You'll be comfortable.
Yeah.
Anything else you guys can think about?
I mean, food would help if that was an option.
Yeah.
Food would help if that was an option.
Yeah, well, if you went the birth center route, there's no restrictions.
Right.
Talk to your provider. Maybe they'll make an exception for you. You know, or just, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, like we talked about. But definitely have snacks, regardless of whether or not they're letting you eat, because after labor you're gonna be ravenous, and he's gonna need to eat. So you're gonna need to recognize too that you need to step away and get something to eat.
Check out the cafeteria.
I don't know about that. Maybe like a really quick protein bar. Janine's gonna be like, "Don't you leave me!" Okay. Breathing is one that is really helpful, and some methods, like Lamaze, teach specific breathing techniques. I take Bradley method, and their philosophy is less on specific techniques and just natural breathing. Making sure that you're not holding your breath, which is easy to do when you're under pain and tension. So deep, calming, low breaths. And some of the things that can help in that breathing is actually doing some specific relaxation exercises. So one of them is called progressive muscle relaxation. Have you guys ever done this or used this?
I think I've heard of it. Is that when you tense a certain muscle and then relax it?
Tense it and release it and let that tension go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then somehow does it through your whole body. Is that right?
Yeah, you do it progressively. That's why we call it progressive muscle relaxation. And so it's about tensing and releasing different muscle groups. And part of what it does is it helps you be aware of tension that you're feeling. Because a lot of times, I mean, we're carrying tension. Like I'm carrying tension in my jaw and my neck right now, but I largely remain unaware of it. We're helping create an awareness so that when you're in labor, you're aware of your bodily feelings and you can intentionally release that tension. So let's try one.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, do you guys feel, you could either lay on carpet or you could lay on the couch.
Lay on the couch. Should I lay on the carpet?
I lay on the floor, but you lay wherever you be comfortable. Okay. All right. Progressive muscle relaxation is an exercise that relaxes your mind and body by progressively tensing and relaxing muscle groups throughout the entire body. You'll tense each muscle group vigorously but without straining, and then release the tension and feel the muscle relax. You will tense each muscle group for about 5 seconds. If you have any pain or discomfort at any of the targeted muscle groups, feel free to omit that step. You may visualize the muscle tensing and a wave of relaxation flowing over them as you release that tension. It's important to just keep breathing naturally. Okay, so first of all, just check your body right now. Do you feel any tension in any particular places? I'm just curious.
Yeah, neck and shoulders for me.
Yeah, probably jaw.
Jaw. All right, now allow your attention to focus only on your body. If you notice your mind wandering, bring it back to the muscle you were working on. Take a deep breath through your abdomen. Hold for a few seconds and exhale slowly. Again, as you breathe, notice your stomach rising and your lungs filling with air. Take a couple of deep, just relaxing, cleansing breaths. Let that tension just melt into the floor. As you exhale, imagine the tension in your body being released, flowing out of your body. Again, inhale and exhale. All right, as we begin, tighten the muscles in your forehead by raising your eyebrows as high as you can. Hold for about 5 seconds. And abruptly release, feeling that tension just fall away. Relax the forehead. You can close your eyes if it helps you concentrate. Just keep taking deep breaths. Now, smiling widely, feel your cheeks and your mouth tense. Hold for about 5 seconds. And now release it. Feeling the softness in your face. Let all the tension in your jaw fall away. Let all the tension in your forehead just melt away. Deeply relaxing the muscles of your forehead, of your eyes, of your jaw, your mouth. No more tension. Now tighten your eye muscles by squinting your eyelids tightly shut. Hold for 5 seconds. Now release. Allow your eyelids to deeply relax as you just continue breathing. Now gently pull your head back as if looking to the ceiling. Hold for, no, you can't really do this very well. Hold for about 5 seconds and now release. Releasing the tension in your upper neck. Feel the weight of your relaxed head and relaxed neck sink. Breathe in. Imagine all the tension in your shoulders. Take your shoulders and tense them up to your ears. Feeling it just hold it tight. 5 seconds. And release your shoulders. All that tension in your shoulders just melt away. Now tightly but without straining, clench your fists and hold this position. And release. Feel the relaxation now on your shoulders and your hands. And just continue breathing deeply. Now flex your biceps. Feel that buildup of tension. You can even visualize this muscle tightening, the muscle contracting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and release. Feeling limpness in your arms. Relax the muscles of your hands, of your forearms, of your shoulders. Deeply relax. Feel as if they feel heavy, just melting into the ground. Now tense your upper back by pulling your shoulders in to make your shoulder blades touch. Yeah, turn that here. 2, 3, 4, 5. And release. Now tighten your chest by taking a deep breath in. Hold for 5 seconds. Blow out all the tension. Feel your chest relax. Soften it. Notice anywhere you still feel a little bit of tension in your body. All of the muscles deeply relaxed. Now gently arch your lower back. Hold it for 5 seconds and relax. Feel the limpness in your upper body, letting go of tension and stress. Sinking into the floor. Continue breathing deeply from your abdomen. Now tighten the buttocks. Hold for about 5 seconds. And imagine your hips just falling loose. Continue to breathe deeply. Now tighten your thighs by pressing your knees together, as if you were holding a P between them. And release. Now flex your feet, pulling your toes towards you. Feel the tension in your calves. Forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. And relax. Feel the weight of your legs sinking down. Curl your toes under your tensing feet. Hold for 5 seconds. Now imagine a wave of relaxation slowly spreading through your body from the beginning of your head all the way down to your feet. Breathe in and out. In and out. Any area of tension, anything still hanging on, just let it go. Continue to start to wake up your body and wiggle it out. Okay. How was that?
Very relaxing.
That's nice.
And what did you notice when you did that? Any particular areas you realized you were tense? once you were focusing on your body?
Shoulders.
Yeah, back and shoulders, I think, definitely. Just probably from sitting all day.
Yeah, it's just nice to be on your back.
It is, especially like I think the hard floor is really good for that.
Yeah, so muscle relaxation. It doesn't have to be progressive muscle relaxation like that, where you're like tense, release, but relaxation is the key, right? So noticing that tension is really important. What else do you think you could do that would help release the tension in your neck and shoulders?
Massage?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some stores, like the Below 5, what is that store?
Five
Five
Below.
Below.
Yeah, Five
Mhm.
Below.
Yeah, they sell like different little relaxation tools,
Yeah.
and so that can be really great to pack in your brick bag.
Okay.
And that's something Daniel can practice with you ahead of time.
Right.
Like, Chris would never do massage for me because he's terrible at it, and it just annoys me because I'm like, oh, you're not getting it. But practice ahead of time, and so you know what she likes best, what kind of pressure.
Well, he has big hands. I can't do anything.
Yeah, she doesn't do very good massages for me.
See, you do. That's really. Maybe that's because I'm just a girl here.
I think
but-
it helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
I give you
Sure.
pretty good
I'm
massages.
like, I don't think it's that I can't do it.
Yeah, they can't sell that.
And you can look up videos now on YouTube too about like how to give a very good neck massage, a very good shoulder massage. That's really, she's probably not going to want it during a contraction, but
During pushing.
she will tell you if it gets annoying. But in between, it could be a great way to help her relax.
Mhm.
And a big part of your job is going to be to notice her areas of tension and kind of draw attention to it. So it might just be like gently putting your hand on her. If you see that she's clenching her jaw, or you see that she's maybe tensing up her shoulders or holding her breath, you're gonna tell her, okay, release it.
Mhm.
You can sometimes having little catchphrases is very, very good because you're not gonna want to sit there and give her a lecture. Okay? But if you have
Right.
something, it's like what do you call it? Code word.
Oh,
It's
right.
like you see her tensing up, like release, release.
Right. And this is in between contractions, right?
Mhm.
Okay.
Right.
Because she'll tense up during contractions, probably.
You know, for a while, your goal is to relax during the contraction as well, not to fight it. Try to breathe through it. Try not to tense up during the contraction. So yes, you can do it during the contraction. Absolutely. There will come a point, probably in transition, where then you're maybe not able to relax much. But for the most of the way through active labor, that is the goal. Relaxation during, relaxation in between. You'll kind of find your rhythm once you get going. She will know what she tolerates and what feels best. You really have to find this on the spot. You have this toolbox with all of these coping mechanisms, but when you're in the moment, you figure out, what she wants, what feels best. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Water therapy is also a great one with relaxation. So,
You're in the tub.
yeah,
Is that what
I
you
couldn't
mean?
get out.
Okay.
That's why I ended up having a water birth with Jonah because it was just so wonderful. I just couldn't.
Wait, so when he came out, he was in the water?
Oh, wow.
Did you know
Crazy.
that can
Well, I guess it's no different than being in the amniotic fluid.
exactly?
Because they're not breathing.
So then, when he's out of the water, that's his first breath.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah, because he's still breathing when they're pulling him out. He's still breathing through the umbilical cord.
Right.
So, yeah, then they put him out, and then once they cut the cord, like he's out of the water at that point, they kind of like wiped him off, and it was beautiful.
Wow.
I was never like, yay, I want to have a water birth, but after I did it, I was like, that was perfect. I
Cool.
would not have changed it.
Wow. And that's probably also like a birth center thing, right? Water birth.
I mean, I have known hospitals that had midwives that had birthing tubs, but I think they're few and far between.
Especially during COVID.
I would think so.
Well, the water shortage in Cape Town.
Yeah.
We were having Jonah during the height of that, and I was the last birth that they allowed in the birthing tub because it used so much water.
Yeah.
I mean, we were down to like having to bathe with like 2 liters a day.
Wow.
Yeah, my parents visited during that time, and they showered like every other day or something.
5 minute showers.
Yeah, we would
Yeah.
go days without showering. We weren't allowed to use water to like wash our car. I mean, it's pretty, especially, I mean, maybe if they're used to that, but for us as Americans who are pretty wasteful, like,
No, my dad showers twice a day.
oh,
So
really?
he hated it.
It was really hard. So anyway, it was really great that despite the water shortage, I got to use the birthing tub.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh,
But something you might be able to do at your hospital, even if you don't have a tub, is a shower. And often they'll have a chair. So sit, you know, maybe sit like this and have the water just beat down on your back. That'd be really helpful.
Yeah.
You know, when you're in a tub, it's wonderful because you're weightless. So, and the water just so relaxes your muscles. It can really help progress. If you're in a tub, it can help progress things once you're in active labor, but they actually recommend not doing it before active labor, like if you're like 3-4 centimeters, because it relaxes you so much it could actually slow things down, make labor pause.
Huh.
So it's great once labor is established.
Okay.
So another form of relaxation would be like hot and cold therapy, which when you guys get your sheet of what to put in your birth bag, a hot thing that you can put in a microwave, like a rice sock, is wonderful for back pain. Or even for your shoulders. If your shoulders just get so tight and you just need to, you know, relax that tension. But usually it's best like on the back. And cold rag on the forehead, you know, because you're sweating and you can feel very hot. It can kind of feel like hot flashes, which I know we're not old enough to have enjoyed yet. I hear it's pretty bad. So yeah, putting a cool rag on your forehead, it can help with that. Trying to think other things. Another one would be visualization. Have you guys ever heard of visualization?
Yeah.
Well, is that like similar to guided imagery or no? Is that
Yeah.
different?
I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah. So what is guided imagery in your own words?
Like someone kind of like walks you through a scene or
Yeah.
a story or something, and you like imagine it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I guess having your eyes closed is nice.
Yeah. It's kind of like not being where you are and taking yourself somewhere else.
Yeah.
So that's why I asked you, what do you like? Where's your comfort place? And she said the beach. So walking through a guided imagery of, you know, you're laying in the sand and you feel the warmth of your sand, the sand on your toes, and you feel the sun, and you walk through all your senses, which we can do one in just a little bit. I can kind of walk you through that, and it's like taking you somewhere else and just helping you relax and also get your mind off of it.
Well, yeah, even with that, you're very calm, your voice, with the previous exercise.
You know, I should record myself on YouTube, right?
Yeah, you should.
Some people like. I was watching this video of a woman who was singing. I know you guys aren't musicians as much. This might not be a thing. You might be just listening and singing
I
along.
play guitar and
Oh, do
I
you?
played piano for 8 years.
Oh, but you just don't let it on in our team meetings.
Well, River wants to do it, so
It was true.
I don't even have time to practice.
So would Daniel playing the guitar be something you would want?
I don't know if you'd want to do that. Well, here at home, sure. Like,
Yeah.
In early labor, you can play me a song.
Yeah, I can play some guitar, sure.
Yeah.
I saw this beautiful video of a woman who was laboring and her husband was playing the guitar and she was singing worship music.
Oh, that's cool.
And like that's how they were spending their time in early labor, was just worshiping and praising the Lord. I'll have to send you this video. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Cool.
And she was actually singing her way through the contractions.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I could do that.
Yeah.
So visualization, also meditation, like having something in your mind, like a verse or something. Do you have a favorite scripture?
Got a number. Well, I don't call one my favorite. I might have a favorite for the season. Like, I like Deuteronomy 31:8. Like, if the Lord who goes before you, He will be with you. Not be afraid or dismayed.
Yeah.
which would be a good one
That's
for that,
perfect.
actually.
Yeah, when you're in having those fearful moments and you start listening to the voice of fear, you start replaying thoughts in your mind like, I can't take more of this. This is going to go on forever, you know, and suddenly you're not focusing on the one contraction that you're getting through. You're thinking through 10 contractions later and you're letting yourself be afraid.
Mm-hmm.
That's when block out that voice of fear and meditate on that scripture. You know, and having kind of practiced that ahead of time, let that be like one of the hooks in your mind that you put your hat on, you know, that one of the tools in your tool belt, so to speak, is like those scriptures that you have memorized ahead of time, and you can just sit there and
Meditate.
yeah, sit there and meditate. Be aware of your thought process as you're doing this. If you start to think negatively or think fearfully, you know, redirecting your mind to the here and the now. And it's beautiful because we do have this confidence that, like, no matter what happens, you're not alone in this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that there is the presence of the Holy Spirit who's there with you and brings you comfort. And, yeah, meditate.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. So, that was relaxation. What are my other two R's?
Rhythm and
Relaxation? Is that?
Relaxation's one. There are two
Okay.
more R's. We call it 3 R's.
what's the last one?
Ritual.
Ritual. Okay.
Which is not what it sounds like. It sounds kind of
Sacred
funny, but
ritual.
Gonna have communion.
Communion.
that's not what I mean. But there really is, so rhythm and ritual go together. So I can kind of speak about these as one, but there really is something that helps us with contractions when we know that it is short. We know that it is a short time, and then we're going to move through it. And we're focusing on the here and now. And rhythm, you know, like a beat. It just really helps with this. So it helps keep a focus. It helps you keep, you know, the knowledge in your mind that this is going to end. So some examples of this would be swaying or rocking. A lot of women, you'll kind of instinctually do this, I think, like in the moment as you try to focus through contraction. A lot of women, you'll see, oh, rocking. And Daniel, you can sit there and engage with her. Do it with her. Okay, you're gonna be doing some funny things and you're gonna make some funny noises. And you just need to let all of the fear of like how weird and silly it looks, just let do what instinct comes to you. So like hand squeezing would be one. Like during a contraction, you might be squeezing Dana's hand, you might be counting. I remember I would rock and I would count 1, 2, 3, 4, and Chris would count with me, and we'd count to what I was probably counting slowly in an actual second, but I would count to like 30, and then it was over. And I knew that if I could just count to that number, it would be done. So I knew that.
Like a target.
Yes, it was like just count through it, and then we relax, and we just count through it, and then this is what you're doing during contraction to help cope. I remember my birth educator telling me that there was like a circle on her husband's shirt, and she visualized blowing through the hole of the shirt. So like,
Wow.
you know, that's not something you can plan for. That's just something like instinctually you're like trying to figure out like what to do on the spot, and then you just do it. Yeah, so rhythm, movement, and rhythm in words just really helps. And then ritual is something you focus on during each contraction, which is why it's called a ritual. Like, it's not something you're doing constantly, but it's a ritual for the contraction. And these change, so it might be blowing through that hole that you're imagining for like several contractions, and then you might need to do something else, and that's not effective. So swaying. A great one, like we talked about, is the slow dance. Your arms around his neck, and you're going to be rocking and kind of dancing through the contraction with him. You guys think of other ones?
I don't know if you could like think about running or something, like use that sort of, I don't know, when you run, do you do anything like that?
I mean, you get into a rhythm, especially at a certain pace that feels good. Just try to stay there.
Yeah,
Use that.
it's a very similar concept, right? Because with that activity, you're kind of pushing your body a little bit, and you push by using like the rhythm that you get into. It makes it feel more natural. Sometimes, I mean, it's things like tapping. Like, so you might see a woman in labor and doing really funny things, and it's how she's coping. It actually means that she's doing a really good job coping. A big one is making sound, and it's funny because in some cultures, like, they're kind of shamed for making sound in labor. Like, you have to like just take it and be quiet, you know. But no. Make sound in labor. And when labor gets intense, especially as you near transition and in that stage where it's really painful, one of the best things you do is make a deep, low sound. Like, oh. Okay, I want you guys to be really weird and do that. Deep. Oh. And you're kind of like breathing out when you're doing it, and imagine yourself releasing tension. Okay? Oh. Yeah, it's deep, low groans help. That's much better than if you see her making high, squealy sounds where you know she's holding her breath like. Okay.
Why is that associated with tension? The higher
Can you imagine making a high sound but being relaxed? Like, I just can't. I can't physically relax my voice or relax my body while I'm making like a kind of sound. It's like this breath washing over you that's making this sound. Now, she may make some other funny sounds, and that's fine too. But what you're listening for is that she's not tensing. You know, sounds of tension are like holding her breath. The making the sound can help with the making sure that you're breathing. You breathe and you moan, and you breathe and you moan.
And in between, the relaxation techniques help with that, right? You're just going into the contraction, not as tense.
Yeah, as relaxed as possible. Yeah. So the ritual is what you're doing during the contraction. And some relaxation too. Relaxation is really helpful in between contractions. You know, you're letting everything go, and then when that contraction comes, you're not fighting it. You're finding this sort of ritual to cope with it. Once it gets active and more intense. You guys have questions?
Yeah, I never knew that those were things that women did. So.
Yeah, they don't show that in the movies.
No, they skip to the very end of it.
What do movies describe as, like, if you were to say, okay, the movie scenario birth, what does it show?
Like,
very end, like, pushing, lots of pain.
yeah, screaming. Or it usually will just be like a short snippet, I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely not like the...
You don't
the whole
see that as the
process
main
of it.
part of it.
Well, usually, for one, water breaks first. Right?
Yeah,
yeah,
you're right.
That only happens 10% of the time, but in the movies,
Oh,
it's like,
It's all the-
oh, my water broke, I need to go to the hospital. And I'm over here thinking, and then they immediately get to the hospital and they're like, ah, and just like
Yeah, basically.
screaming, out of control, pain, fear.
They didn't practice their rituals.
The dad pacing or something like
Oh yeah,
that.
the dad is outside.
Yeah, never with her.
Not with them. They're just kind of waiting outside.
Very little about what you see in the movies is how it usually goes.
That's true. Same with weddings, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we can talk more about as the day gets closer and kind of go over rhythm, relaxation, and ritual. But again, most of it is instinct, and it's just knowing. It's having some tools like visualization and music, and having all these things kind of ready, and then in the moment you're trusting your body, and Janine's gonna figure out what feels best. And so your job, Daniel, becomes following her lead. You know, if she's serious, be serious. If she's making weird, funny noises, she's not going to want to make them alone. So make weird, funny noises with her.
That's really loud.
There will be no laughter. No, there might be. Yeah. Watch for tension. Why don't you sum up everything we said? What are the things you're going to do?
Okay. So we have relaxation, so in between contractions we will exercise breathing and relaxing muscles, maybe a massage, and then during the contractions, well, you have to be, what was it? It was relax, rhythm, create a rhythm. So rhythm you could count or whatever feels right in the moment, and then ritual, just continue that during each contraction, and use our different walking or laying down techniques.
But this is not going to happen without your consent. But they've given her a catheter for whatever. No, not a catheter. Sorry. They've given her continuous fetal monitoring for whatever reason. What are you going to do?
Continuous fetal monitoring.
Yeah, she's got the belt, and you're monitoring her heartbeat. And she's been in the bed for a whole hour.
Well, I should encourage her to go to the bathroom.
Yes. Yes. And either way, whether or not they're doing like monitoring, encourage her to use the bathroom.
Okay.
Because she's going to be very focused, and she may not remember. One, the toilet is an excellent position, but also like if your bladder is full, it can prolong the second stage of labor and make pushing more difficult. So do encourage her every now and then if you've noticed she hasn't used the bathroom.
Yeah.
It'll be in your cheat sheet.
Okay.
Also reminding her to drink.
Oh, right.
With the
straw.
With the straw. Wait, what was the reason for that? For straw?
That she needs a lot of water. I mean, she's doing a pretty intense physical activity.
Oh, but she doesn't want to like. Okay.
Yeah,
the straw is just easier to drink out of.
Yeah, one, she may be focused, she may forget, or two, she's just gonna be not wanting to hold. Okay. So just like putting it up to her lips and giving her a sip. It's like she doesn't have to do anything. She just has to let you.
Okay.
Yeah, following her signs and touch or no touch. She may be loving that massage, and then there may come a time that she's like, no more. Don't be offended. It's like Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. And what happens in the labor rooms stays in the labor room. No offense. Like, yeah. Do you guys have any questions?
I guess like after the birth, what typically happens then?
Good question.
I don't really know.
Okay.
You mentioned that, they wipe down the baby and probably hand it to the mother right away. Breastfeeding.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that gets into the next section. I'm going to talk about post-delivery.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
But any more questions on comfort measures and coping with pain?
There's no point in like covering.
No, that was really thorough.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions?
No, just have to review everything.
Yeah. And you know what? There's great YouTube videos out there for like relaxation exercises to practice ahead of time using visualization, muscle relaxation. And a big thing right now is hypnobirthing. It's like women that like go into such deep state of relaxation that they're like hypnotized.
Oh, wow.
And like a lot of women really talk highly of hypnobirthing, so it could be, I can send you some videos on that.
Sure.
Do you just watch the video and you're kind of hypnotized by it, or is that how it works?
I think it's, I've
Can I do it?
never done it specifically. I don't think you're like you just watch it like in the cartoons, you know, and you just get hypnotized. I think it's like it's basically like a form of deep relaxation
Mm-hmm.
that really takes the awareness off the pain.
We should try that.
This is coming from someone that has not done it, but I know that there are great YouTube videos out there on it.
Okay.
Okay, so post delivery, right? Baby has come out. The first thing that they're gonna do, hopefully, is put the baby skin to skin. Now, as part of have you ever heard of the Baby Friendly initiative?
Well,
In the
you
hospital?
just mentioned it last Friday.
Yeah,
I
actually,
don't know too much. Like keeping a baby with the mom and stuff like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's like 10 steps of being baby friendly, and
Okay.
most of the hospitals around here are. And then there's actually two. There's the mother friendly initiative, and then there's the baby friendly. The
Okay.
baby friendly is it was put out by UNICEF and the World Health Organization back in the 90s, actually encouraging hospitals to increase breastfeeding. And so it's very much evidence-based that one of the things a baby does best with and needs is skin-to-skin contact with the mother after the birth. It helps regulate the baby's heartbeat, their temperature. You know, it's a tough world out there. Think of like this environment they've gone through that's very tight and very, very warm, and now they're in this open world, and they recognize your smell, and babies know their mothers. And so putting that baby skin to skin is, they'll do that like post-birth, even while the cord is still pulsing, before Daniel probably gets the cord.
Oh, does the husband usually do it?
They often give a choice,
Oh, interesting.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, if
Sounds fun.
you're at risk of passing out, maybe you want to be standing by Janine's head and not cut the cord. That's your choice.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how I feel at the moment.
Yeah, both John cut all 6 of his baby's cords,
Wow.
and
Oh.
Chris cut 2 as well.
Okay.
You can do it.
Yeah, I can do it. I think I can.
Just, yeah, but you're not a failure. That's not your thing. It's okay. So yeah, the cord will still be pulsing, and then they'll clamp the cord and cut it. And they call it the golden hour after birth, when you're bonding with your baby skin to skin, and that's when like the baby first begins the breastfeeding reflex. They usually put tummy to tummy on you, and some babies it's amazing. It's almost immediate. As soon as you put them skin to skin, they're crawling, and they make their way up to your breast and try to latch.
Wow.
It can happen in minutes post-birth.
Wow.
It is, I mean, it's very much like an instinctual thing.
Wow.
And some babies, you know, let's say you had pain medication or birth was a little bit more traumatic, it may take more time than that, and that's totally fine. But the more you put that baby skin to skin and give them that warmth and comfort, the easier it's going to be to initiate that breastfeeding reflex. So I'll send you some YouTube videos on this too, of this baby crawling, and then baby latches, which we'll talk about breastfeeding too, and latch and all that stuff. But yeah, if anything were to happen, you know, and she can be skin to skin on you, then like doing kangaroo care or having Dan do skin to skin.
Good for you.
This person.
Yeah, babies should bond with their daddies too. Yeah, then there's different ways to manage that second stage of labor after the baby has been born versus whether they're doing active or expectant management. You might be given a shot in the leg that helps with the contractions and the expulsion of the placenta, and can choose whether or not to look at your placenta.
I think it'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be fascinated, I think.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing. Then at that point, you're bonding and you're taking time to breastfeed within those first couple of hours after birth. You're going to be very hungry and need a snack, and you're also going to be really exhausted. Yeah, and if they are doing, if this is a baby-friendly hospital, the baby's gonna room in with you. And what that does is it ensures that the baby can breastfeed on demand whenever they want. And also, you know, it's more comforting for the baby to be near you and have access instead of like what they used to do from the 60s on, you know, was like wheel the baby to the neonatal or wheel the baby to the unit where the babies are kept. A baby-friendly hospital has the thing beside the hospital bed, the bassinet. Yeah. Does that answer your question, or are there other things you're wondering about?
No, yeah, that was good to know. And you typically.
Score.
Oh yes, the APGAR score. Thank you. They will do some things with the baby.
Sometimes they do like the foot thing, like
the footprint.
The footprint, yeah. Give you a little certificate.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I completely forgot the APGAR score, but they're going to do that as well. They're going to probably suction the baby's nose, make sure there's no mucus or anything. They're going to make sure that. I keep saying he. To breathe. Yeah, they'll towel him off and they'll take his APGAR score. So that is a measure of his health at birth. Like they're looking at his color, they're looking at his breathing, and they can give a score.
And then make sure they're warm, right?
Swaddle.
Yeah. So, you know, when you're doing skin to skin, you need to have some sort of button up top that you can easily have access to. And maybe at that point you probably won't be wearing a nursing bra, but it's good after that to have nursing bras so that you can do that. But put the blankets over you and the baby.
Okay.
Because babies do have trouble regulating their temperature, and they do need to stay warm.
And then they would keep us there in the hospital for some time after probably, or we get discharged.
Monitor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Usually what, 2 days,
Okay.
Yeah.
I think is about.
And they like rub your belly to like stimulate. Is that part of it too?
Like,
I just remember that like rubbing your belly like helps contract.
Yeah, like during the placental stage, like when they're trying to get placenta out, they might like palpitate.
Yeah.
Or and they may do that. It's good. She has L&D rotation, so she.
Yes.
I also remember just learning about the emotional state of the mom, like, because it's a lot, like, after you give birth, you're, like, thinking about what you just went through, but then you also have to be like, oh, wait, now I'm a mom. And it's a lot to think about.
It is a lot. You feel like you just come back from war. Like you're like, whoa, I just did this. And also there's a sort of emotional high that you get from the hormones. And it really is, it really is a high. Like you feel overjoyed that the baby's here, and you feel incredibly relieved that the labor is over. And you're also thinking, okay, I gotta take care of his life. What do I do? and you're tired, but baby needs to nurse quite often,
Yeah.
so you're not really getting a lot of rest. And those first few days after birth are hard. They're very hard, and you're gonna need a lot of support. Yeah. Hopefully good hospital food, and then people bring you lots of meals. Rest whenever. Everybody always tells me, or told me, rest when the baby rests. You know, because you're waking up every 2 hours, you're exhausted, so when the baby's sleeping, you sleep.
Yeah.
It just never worked for me. Like,
I guess you also want like your alone time to do what you want.
exactly. I'm like, I have 4 loads of laundry to catch up on. But you show yourself a lot of grace. And breastfeeding also is a pretty big learning curve. This is where we're going to do a separate class where we're going to get deeper into breastfeeding as the time gets closer. So did you go over like in your nursing like the benefits of breastfeeding? Or have you learned about that?
It's just a lot of better nutrients and the immunities and that much faster. Yeah.
Daniel, have you heard this before?
Yeah, James mentioned it. Yeah, so, I mean,
just
the mother's immunity.
formula. I don't remember anything besides that, but it's cheaper, so.
Yeah, that's what it's super expensive. Yeah, it's
And
ready all the time.
I heard that the mother forgets the pain of the birth through breastfeeding. Is that true? That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's...
Like the hormones.
Yeah, maybe that's it.
So which hormone, knowing what you know about hormones and what we've talked about, what hormone do you think is going to be responsible for the release of breast milk?
So yeah, sometimes.
It's also oxytocin. So again, it's the love hormone. So when you're in a really stressed like environment and people are watching you, you might have trouble with letdown to get that milk flowing. But when you're snuggling with your baby and you're looking at him and he's so beautiful, you know, it makes it so much easier to breastfeed. Yeah, it's very much a hormonal trigger. Yeah. And interestingly, like later on when you pump, like they say to have like a picture of your baby to like look at, or like something that smells like your baby, because it can be really hard for women to pump because you don't have that same hormonal thing going on, so you have to kind of manufacture that. I just thought that was interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, so antibodies, this is interesting. I actually just saw something posted on the news about how their breast milk is protecting people from COVID. Did you guys see that?
Really?
No, I didn't see that.
Which I didn't fully read it. I just glanced at it and I thought, you know what, knowing what I know about breast milk, it makes so much sense. Like, breast milk provides amazing antibodies for so many illnesses. Yeah, babies that breastfeed are less likely to have ear infections, respiratory tract infections, colds, gut infections, less instance of SIDS, less allergic diseases, less bowel disease, reduces the risk of diabetes and childhood leukemia, and it promotes healthy weight. So like just so many things.
Yeah.
And formula just nutritionally just doesn't compare. Like I remember when I was in South Africa, it was really sad. I was in one of the public hospitals there, the next city over, and they had a whole room of preemies, like 30 preemies that were born, you know, like I think the youngest was like 24 weeks. And so normally what they do is they give donated breast milk because the gut of a premature baby does not have what it takes to digest the kind of protein, like milk proteins and stuff that was from the formula. So, but they had run out of all of this donated breast milk months before.
Wow,
So they were having to give formula, and what they did is they said they had to give antibiotics prophylactically. This is a 26-week-old baby on a ventilator, and they're having to give formula and antibiotics. You know, so again, we support a woman's right to choose. Like if she declines breastfeeding, or if there's any like anatomical reason why a woman can't breastfeed, like it happens. But we really also want to educate women on like the amazing benefits of like the way that God designed it is just always blows my mind. So do you have any big questions about breastfeeding that we can talk about with our time?
I guess, yeah, like initially it's difficult, right? Or is it called like colostrum?
Colostrum.
That's
Yeah.
like the initial flow.
Uh-huh.
And then like once it comes and it's easier, like I don't know how long does it take like to actually
So it
once
can
they
take-
latch on like
It can take 3 or 4 days before your milk comes in.
okay.
So during that time, like even right now, your breasts are producing colostrum. So colostrum, they call it liquid gold. It has an orangish look to it, and it's very thick, and it's just nutritionally incredibly dense and has lots of fat and protein in it. So the baby only needs little tiny bits of colostrum. So a lot of women get discouraged or frustrated in their initial breastfeeding process because they're like, my baby's not getting anything. But they don't know the baby's getting colostrum. Your breast may feel almost empty and you don't see what they're getting. But they are getting colostrum until your milk comes in. And when your milk comes in, your breast will feel very full. You'll know when your milk comes in. and then the baby is not even getting, at least maybe not completely at first emptying your breast, because you'll feel such a difference. But in the meantime, before that milk comes in, what they're getting through colostrum, it may only be a teaspoon, but it's enough. So the way that they make sure that the baby is getting what the baby needs is by monitoring his weight. And he will lose a little bit of weight in the first couple of days of life, but they have a scale that they go by just to make sure that it's not so much a percentage of his body weight. And if it is, they might supplement. And a lot of hospitals, if that happens, can give drops of supplemented breast milk instead of formula. And they would probably not do that with a bottle. They would probably do it through like syringe drops, because they really want that the baby, the first thing they do is to learn how to use the breast and not confuse the baby with a bottle. So that happened to Evie in the hospital because I had flat nipples and Evie could not latch. And I had to see a lactation consultant, and it was a long process for her learning to latch. And in the meantime, I was very tired and I was very worried, and I really started to question, does my body have what it takes to support her? Because it's, as you can imagine, like, your body is now responsible for taking care of another life outside of your body. It can feel like a very heavy weight of responsibility. But they gave her some supplemented breast milk, and all was fine. And I needed the help of a lactation consultant. So there are breastfeeding counselors. Like, I've been through a training as a breastfeeding counselor, and I can help like with comfort in breastfeeding and helping babies get proper latch. But a lactation consultant is like more specially trained when there's a problem. So hopefully your hospital has on staff a lactation consultant. They're actually nurses, and it's amazing what they do. So know that that's a really important resource if you have any trouble, or even if you don't, they can help with all the basics too.
Yeah.
I don't think I would be breastfeeding today if a lactation consultant hadn't helped me. But I remember in this one moment just thinking I would never get it, and it was day 3, and I don't think I'd slept in 3 days, and I just melted down. I mean, just a pile of boohoo and tears, and I can't do it. And my sister was there with me, and this poor lactation consultant was just like, okay. She's just trying to be supportive, but it came, and then Evie breastfed for 1.5 years. So
Nice.
my kids never wanted to quit. And it is truly, I think one of the best things about it is so bonding. Like, there's this oxytocin thing. Daniel might even get a little bit of jealous because you get this like incredible bonding thing that like nobody else can do.
Yeah.
You know, it's really, I love it. I at first, before I had kids, I felt a little weird about it, because in our society, like, that's not what breasts are for.
Yeah.
You know? But when I got used to it, it was like it was the most sweetest, most bonding thing I've ever been able to share with our kids. Yeah. So you brought up colostrum. Did you have other questions? Like, that's a really great question. I didn't want to leave that out.
You breastfeed what, like every 2 hours? Or?
Really on demand, ideally. Now, here's where you really get a lot of conflicting words of advice. Is as the baby gets a little bit older, you have like the schedule people.
Yeah.
And you have
those.
And okay, that was me with my first kid, and then over here on demand was me with my second kid. With my first kid, I really stressed myself out about having to stay on a schedule. It just was not happening. And I'm not giving any opinions on this. Again, like I said before, you take in all of these opinions, and at the end, you do what works for you. But I will say, at the beginning, when you're trying to establish breastfeeding, on demand is very important, because the amount that they suck, it's stimulating and it's producing. so it helps establish your supply. And interestingly, with supply and demand, you're never empty. Like if they finish and your breast feels very empty, but then they were to continue sucking, they're still getting something. It's never empty because your breast is actually producing as they're sucking.
Wow, that's cool.
So yeah, so one of the things you do if you have low supply is you have the baby nurse more, and as they suck more, you produce more. Yeah.
And then I know some of my friends have talked about mastitis.
Mm-hmm.
How common is that?
You know, I don't know. I don't know here, and of course here, like we have really great antibiotics, so we can treat it quickly and effectively. That was something in South Africa. I actually had a woman almost die of mastitis.
Wow.
Simple bacterial infection, but we could not get her enough antibiotics to help her, and so it was terrible. Anyways, you know, you'll know the warning signs and get treat it very quickly if that happens. It'll feel there's clogged ducts and then there's mastitis, and if you have a fever, then that usually means it's bacterial. Both are painful. Like you'll feel a very hard lump. It'll be very painful to nurse on that side, but yeah. I don't know how common it is, but the best thing you do for mastitis is breastfeed. Like even when there is a mastitis infection, because you want the milk to like continue circulating and to get out.
Okay.
So interestingly, like recommendations now, it might be very painful though. But breastfeeding, this is where, you know, you're on supply and demand, and sometimes when a baby is very little, they're not able to breastfeed both sides, or you might, at the beginning when your milk comes in, you might have more milk than that baby can handle. So how you handle that is you breastfeed on one breast, and then the next feed, you breastfeed on the next breast.
Yeah, my one friend had an app like helping her remember which side.
Nice. One mom told me like she had a wristband, so
Okay.
like she would put it on the side that she breastfed on, so then she knew next time to do it on the next side.
That's smart.
And then yeah, I guess you can pump too. Does it hurt though when like, are you lopsided? Does it feel like you're lopsided if you don't?
Yeah, it can feel weird. That's a good question. It can feel like if you get engorged. Engorgement is when you have more milk and it gets kind of hot and painful and hard. So it's not a plugged duct or mastitis, but it's too much milk like on one side and
Right.
like an oversupply, and your breast kind of feels like it's going to burst.
Yeah.
And the thing is, since we're on supply and demand, what's going to happen if you pump that side too much? You're going to produce more.
Okay.
So then if you have engorgement, then you only want to pump enough to relieve it, but not too much.
I see.
Don't even pump it empty, just pump like 2 ounces.
Gotcha.
So I think a pump, like I had mentioned before, that pump is one of those things you should have.
Right.
It really helps with breastfeeding problems like engorgement, because if the breast is too engorged, then the nipple's very tight and the baby's not going to be able to latch. So you just breastfeed until it's soft enough that the baby can latch. I don't think pumping is something you need to do at the beginning, because unless you're having trouble, your milk's not coming in, or your milk comes in but it doesn't seem to be much. You know, there are times that pumping is very effective, but if everything's going well and the baby is sucking well and seems to be satisfied, then you don't need to pump. So some moms stress themselves out because they really want an abundance of extra supply just in case. So they'll like breastfeed every 2 hours in between the pump. That's just a lot of work.
Yeah, sounds like it.
But it's good to have on hand in case of problems.
Okay.
And again, like we can cover all that very in depth. I guess that the important thing to know now is just kind of how breastfeeding works and supply and demand, and kind of making your decision like how firmly you feel about breastfeeding. Those are great questions. What else?
I've read about like getting that start even before your birth, or?
It can, but it usually mostly, like your breast can leak a little bit when you're pregnant, but it's a lot more when your milk comes in.
Okay.
Because what will happen is baby will be breastfeeding on one side, and that letdown reflex happens, and now the other side is just like, woo! I also find it helpful to have like a towel, like a burp cloth kind of thing. And I would put and again, I had like way too much supply, but you can put a burp cloth or something on one while you're nursing on the other.
Gotcha.
Because for me, it would just go straight through the pad. But if you, let's say you skip feedings, you're just going to leak a little bit, then pads are very helpful.
Okay. Yeah. And I like disposable or reusable, like washable.
Right. It depends on how eco-friendly you want to be. I use disposable.
Yeah, we've been looking at like, what we actually have access to in the Middle East. Because here it's nice, you know, you can just order anything on Amazon and come in 2 days, but I don't know about the Middle East. Yeah. Even like his cousin recommended, pumping straight into like a disposable bag, and then it has like the nozzle that attaches to it, but it's like, I don't know if I can find that over there.
No.
Yeah.
That's a really good question.
I mean, I can ask, actually, I'll tell you off camera, but yeah, I
Yeah.
have a good resource now.
That's good. I was going to ask, do you have a resource? Somebody that can like go to the store for you and take pictures and like.
Yeah, there's an MP who just met.
Oh, in the city.
Yeah.
It's wonderful.
I guess I could ask her what they have there.
Is she going to be your provider?
Maybe.
Our provider.
Yeah, like healthcare provider.
Oh. Maybe.
Yeah. That's all I can think. I don't know what else.
Yeah. Hand expressing is also something we can do sometimes, but pumps are better. And you know, sometimes Daniel might want to be able to give the baby a bottle and
Right, I was
give you a
thinking
break.
about that, yeah.
And again, people have very differing views on this, and this is where you guys have to decide where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
You don't want to introduce a bottle too early because it really can confuse them, and then they may refuse the breast. And then you wanted to keep them on breast milk for its nutritional benefits for a certain amount of time, but now baby is having trouble taking breast. So that's the risk of introducing a bottle too early.
How long would you wait? Like a month or two?
My babies never took bottles.
Wow.
They
So
never-
Chris never.
But he tried. He probably
Okay.
tried around a month or two.
Okay.
And again, I don't say that from any like point of knowledge of like what's best, because views just differ a lot. Definitely not in the first few weeks. Not until you've got a good established rhythm for breastfeeding.
Okay.
Until the baby seems to be doing well with the breast and enjoying it, you know. And even then, shouldn't be 50-50. Maybe like one bottle like once a day or every few days,
Yeah.
because it is confusing.
Yeah. But just in case, like I'm
Yeah.
not there for something.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You need to know that that's an option.
Right.
Just because you got to figure out what's best for you guys and for your family and for you to be able to get sleep. Chris tried bottle feeding at night so that I could sleep with Evie,
Yeah.
but she just wouldn't take it. Oh, some babies are more difficult.
Picky baby.
Yeah. Those are great questions, though. You know, it's one question I wanted to ask you guys. You're planning on moving about a month after, right? April.
Well, we're gonna move to Tennessee possibly, to my parents.
In what month?
June,
Okay.
And then-
End of June, more like July probably.
and then go to the Middle East from there.
Do you know how long, like how old,
Like
the baby will be when
when we go to Tennessee or the
when
Middle
you go to
East?
the Middle East?
About 4 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Because one of the things I thought about is vaccines. Have you guys researched any? Have you guys done any research on that?
Well, I mean, I had to memorize like the vaccine schedule in nursing school, so I know it goes a lot longer than, it's like 6 months you get the majority of them, I guess.
Right.
But, yeah, like I think we'd be able to finish them up there.
Okay.
But did you mean more like the ethical stuff around
No,
it?
no, 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 no.
Okay.
I know everybody's got their own opinions about that, but no, I mean, when we were trying to move overseas, and we didn't know if we would be able to take Jonah, like, Jonah was gonna be due right before we got there,
Mhm.
but we thought, what if we ended up having him and waiting in the States, when would we be able to go? And our pediatrician counseled us to wait until after 6 months, because at 6 months they've had the majority of the vaccines, and she said she would not recommend international travel without them being vaccinated.
Right.
Mm.
So I just didn't know if you guys had factored that in.
Yeah, I mean, some of the leaders there are more flexible than others, so I'll have to ask that lady too. Like,
Yeah.
cause she had all her kids there, and like, so, I don't know.
I don't think it's so much about
It's just
living
the
there,
travel.
living here, it's
Yeah.
the travel and what they're exposed to.
Right, on the
Especially
way.
now, COVID world, who knows, but,
That's true.
yeah, it's just something to pray about and consider, like,
Yeah,
and talk to your pediatrician, talk to her, she,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's good to know. Cause I mean, yeah, the city we're going to is pretty well known for its medical facilities, but yeah, the travel portion might be something to think about.
Yeah. It's also like, don't underestimate what an adjustment it is and how tired you're gonna be. And those
Yeah.
are two major life stressors, like at the same time.
Mm.
That's true.
Yeah. But, I mean, you guys will know what's right for you. Or do you have, I mean, let's say you felt for some reason that you needed to extend that, do you have a safe place to land until you can travel?
Yeah,
At
my
your parents' house?
yeah.
Like, there's no hurry, they're like, they've got space
Yeah,
for you.
they've got space upstairs, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, if not, we could just,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and I think the teams overseas aren't adequately flexible too,
Mm-hmm.
in terms of receiving.
Especially if we don't do that going on to school.
Mhm.
Yeah. I thought of that too, because you told me you struggled with anxiety in the past, and I just remember my own experience, like it is, it's a lot, you know, and that can be triggering. So,
Yeah.
knowing yourself and,
That's true, yeah. Although we were thinking that it'd be easier to learn the language while the kid is small.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they're not like running around everywhere yet.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we win some, we lose some.
right, yeah, I remember that. Although, it's also your brain's a little foggy.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we went, we were speaking with someone who had done they left with their child when they were 6 months old.
Mhm.
And he was saying